Good evening. This is TB Wahid. We are in the living room, black living room talk, that is, and I have the Ansubu and Aijalon Joseph, who has been a friend of mine for at least, how long have we been friends, Aijalon, you would say?
I started communicating with you in 2017.
Wow, time flies. It's been that long? That long, my brother?
3 years, 1 on 4, Queen.
Wow.
You
Okay.
busy about doing this work, right? It's funny how time flies when you're serious about the cause.
You ain't never lied. Did you want to start off by telling the people, what is it that you do? What is your life's work? I mean, because as long as I've known you, you've been out here on this medium telling the people about their culture and sharing the knowledge of Pan Africanism and how important it is for us to get this thing started and so that we can be successful. Can you kind of explain to those that might not know what it is that you do?
So, yeah, it's a good thing that you asked. And can I go back to the beginning, please,
Sure, you can.
for your listeners? So,
Yes.
yeah, my name is King Aijalon the Ansubu of Lower African Minds and Joint African Markets. Lower African Minds is a religious organization, um, and our job is to uh, move forward, right? Because they can't steal anything from us. A lot of people say they stole it. No, what they forbid us to use is Ma'at, the Ngusi Saba, and Sankofa, and other ancient African principles, which we are spiritual beings inhabiting physical bodies. With these principles, it establishes a system of righteousness because we move in the same frequency. So if we can return back to our same frequency, we can move in a system of righteousness, a government, a nation, a tribe, a state, whatever word you want to use. Man, our ancient ancestors had this thing of Ma'at, which was order, and we had the Ungusi Saba, was principles for us to know what we did before and what we didn't do, what we're doing now and what we shouldn't be doing, and what we need to do in the future and what we don't need in the future. And then we have Sankofa, right? We'll look and see if it aligns with our true purpose in this creation. So, as Low African Minds, King Ajulan and Ansubu, my job is to create a system that reflects our spiritual nature versus us being bathed in all this religious hogwash. But however, I want to go back to the beginning real quick, if I can, Queen. My mother and father were a part of the Black Panther Party. My grandmother was a part of the NADC and the Negro Women Council. Also, she was a part of the Grand United Order of All Fellows by way of the Household of Ruth. My great grandmother was a part of the Marcus Garvey UNIA. And so, in my bloodline, in my DNA, in my RNA, it is, uh, and now, excuse me, I'm not trying to say anything wrong with what you said, but it's not getting started. It's for us to continue the work of our ancestors, because if I don't, my ancestors didn't do all this work for me not to become great. And the only way I can be great is for us to lift each other up. And so, you're all correct, my sister. We got work to do. We got work to do. And one of the great things about this work, I have had the pleasure of working with you on Loyal African Mind shows and talking to you off the show. And you are a breath of fresh air in this movement, in this cause for us to build worldwide African unity.
I thank you so much for that compliment. And I think that it's it's not for the faint of heart. You have to be strong. You have to know how to pick your battles. Um, and you have to learn how to just disseminate the information and plant the seeds. We're not here to, argue or push or shove. We're just here to and share the information in hopes that it will germinate and ferminate and someone will take off, just like we did. We need as many soldiers as we can. We need as many as we possibly can have in this fight. But we only need the ones that are sincere. And that's point blank. We only need those that are sincere
Exactly.
and dedicated.
Absolutely.
So, uh,
Absolutely.
how do you feel about this? Um, what I want to talk about is the overseer syndrome. There seems to be this new type of behavior and speech, that is kind of sort of I don't know what the word I want to use, but it just seems to roll off people's tongues. And
I'm gonna correct you a little bit because it's not new. It's just becoming more blunt. But we have, that overseer syndrome has been around for a minute. They just doing it in your face now.
absolutely no, it's not new at all, but it's just like this identification, you know, um, that you can see it and you can give it a name. Uh,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, queen. Yes, your empress. Yes, your goddess. You are absolutely right. Uh, I'm gonna dive right in. Can I dive right in?
Go ahead, go right ahead.
Okay, so to the general public, to the lay people, and to those who have been studying, and to those who want to study, get your study on. And for those who have not studied, this is the wake up moment. An overseer is a person who looks at your productivity, right, and look at your speech, what you're talking about. And the overseer's job is to keep you working from sun up to sundown and make sure when it's time for you to go home that you go watch, sports. You go eat some food that's not healthy for you. Back in the slave days, the overseer's job was to keep you from congregating, from rebellion. It's the same thing today. Anytime, and this is, and you can check yourself because some people have the overseer syndrome without even knowing it. And one of the best ways to spot the overseer syndrome is when the brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters, or when we are speaking in a agenda format, or just one on one, just talking, uh, and we get to talking about, hey, we need to have some unity. You know, we need to start our own thing, or we need to go back to Africa, or we need to buy some land. The overseer syndrome will have somebody say, we can't hate nobody, or all white people ain't bad, or I don't see color. The overseer syndrome it automatically um, oversees um, what you're saying, and it makes it seem like global white supremacy racism has to stand in place. The overseer cannot phantom existing in a nation, a state, a realm, or a dimension, or in a time, you know, where, without being attached to others, without being integrated into some bullshit.
Absolutely. So it's sort of like the Black Lives Matter movement when it started, and then it started with such momentum, you know, and then all of a sudden you just kind of saw it just like get weak, and that's usually what happens. And it's like, you have to use the concept of I have to clean my own backyard up first before I can, help someone else clean theirs up, or before I can say, well, come on over, this illusion of inclusion. Um, we have to do for ourselves. We don't need, other people to come and help us. Go. They can do more for us if they'll go in their own neighborhood and talk to their people about the understanding that they might have. But we have to do this for ourselves. I don't know why. You know, for me, me to make a statement, I just don't understand why everybody feels like we have to include someone and then we have to feel indebted to it. Where did we get started with this feeling indebted to this?
Well, I share your same sentiments, King Aijalon and Ansubu. And I'm I'm invested with a portion of the spirit of the ancestors, the Ancient of Days, Amen Ra, because I summon it. I ask, I pray for it, I fast for it. I believe in it, I have faith in it, and I know it, I understand it, and it comes, and I call for it to be wisdom in the form of my. And speaking that language um, of the system of Ma'at in the Mbusu Saba and Sankofa, when I look back, I see us here for many years on the planet, right? And when I review the record of time, that we have always been here and we have stayed in our lane. And we have never had a period like the period in the age that we are in now when we allow others to tell us what the future is, to write our past, and to tell us what our position is in the present. Um, which is very disturbing when you get a piece of the stardust, and you wake up. Because the Sandman, that put you to sleep. Don't want you to have that stardust, because that stardust lets you know that you are a truly Renubian soul, and that you are a part of the cosmos, that you are part of this galaxy, and that you're a part of this solar system, and that the Earth, the way it orbits, right, it gives you strength and power, and so you should be able to see out of your eyes what's plainly what's plainly visible to the naked eye. And if you can't not see what's plainly visible to the naked eye, the ancestors have given you the eye of Horus, which they call the eye of Horus, or the third eye, and they gave you the eye of Ra, or the eye of Amen Ra, which is called the fourth eye, which is connected to the pineal gland and pituitary gland, which is connected to your intelligence and your intellect. And so, a long story short, in order for us to move forward, we have to want to know uh, what was before the lies that was told to us. And in order to know what was before the lies, and to have your own nation, and to be able to raise your children and to develop them without bipolarism and ADD and A DHD, um,
It's not funny,
you would
but
have to come out of the customs and practices of the overseer.
absolutely.
What was you saying, Queen?
I said, it's not funny, but these names, like,
It is funny. It's funny and it's sad at the same time.
yes, it is. It is because, I think it was Dr. Umar the other day. You know, I really don't. A lot of people were, having a lot of negative things to say about the brother and everything, but I just, I was just listening to the message, and the message that he had was
Well,
he
one
was,
thing about Dr. Umar, he'll tell you about the overseer.
yes, he will, because he was talking about the special education programs, and he was
Yes, ma'am.
coming out of the DSM, the DSM clinical diagnoses that they give children in the school system, and I know all about how that works, by being in the educational field myself. And he was talking about how, don't let them convince you to put your child on this medicine because the one Ritalin is like a the cousin of cocaine, and it has all of those ingredients in it, and it's like some sort of gateway. And I'm like, when I found this out a couple of years ago myself, and I was like, really, why would they? So it's like all sorts of stuff that you have to be aware of. You need to educate yourself on. Just like you said, you have to go back. You know, you know, just don't be. It doesn't afford you to be ignorant of these things that are going on now.
I like the way you put that. Ignorant.
It just doesn't, because you could be possibly helping us, helping without your knowledge. See, here we go with the knowledge. Without your knowledge, you could be possibly harming your child. Excuse me. And there's other um, special. There's other medicines that they market to parents for children that they say have ADHD or things like that. But he was mainly bringing up the point that, well, what what does his teacher look like? So you mean to tell me he has to sit in front of this Caucasian teacher all day? He's not. You don't want him to squirm. He said, "How in the world?" He said, "Did you like sitting in a chair all day? Listening to somebody drone on and on and on?" And I was like, "Oh my God, I can relate." Our kids are creative,
Um,
and they need things that challenge them, hands on.
well, only thing in response to what you're saying, that King Aijalon and Ansubu, I'm a high priest in the ancient Nubian mystery science, the science of the spirit, the spirituality of the spiritual science. Uh, the science of spirituality of the spiritual sciences. The science of spirituality of the spiritual sciences. I'm going to say that again. The science of spirituality of the spiritual sciences. So, for, for 400, 500, 600 years, white people have been dissecting us, our bodies, our culture, our societies, which is our social system, um, how we eat, what we eat, uh, how we piss, how we squat and defecate. Um, they've
You
studied
get to.
everything about us. Well,
Wow.
because that's why they have us sitting up in a certain position on these toilets, because they know if we squat, the colon and the pancreas and the intestines and the stomach will cleanse itself. So when we say spiritual science, uh, this is a spiritual planet, right? The physical being is a spiritual being. This whole creation is spiritual, and somehow these tubaguyus convinced us that there's a separation from church and state, and there's a separation from quantum physics and phantom physics, right? And what we're basically saying, the spirit is housed in the body, even though the body has a temporary stay, right? The body was made for spirit, but the spirit can live beyond the body, right? So since the spirit comes before the body and it comes into a body and it leaves out of the body, it goes to seek a new body. And so we have to take care of the body. So the body is the faculty that the spirit gets to express itself in. And for a melanated being with an active pineal gland and a pituitary gland to have a non-melanated being or a calcified pineal gland and pituitary gland uh, try to interact and teach and elevate or try to inform or direct and instruct a fully melanated being with an open pineal gland and pituitary gland, right, is disastrous for the melanated being, meaning our children, where we are true living Nubian soul. There is no way in hell or on earth or up in the ideal of heaven should some caucuses, right? Some
Hmm.
dead people from the dead region of earth, right? From the icelands, you know, the world of Martin the musician, right? From the throne of Queen Elizabeth, Victoria, King James, and Louis, and what's the king of Perez of Spain, and the guillotine of the Dutch, the Germans. Ain't no way should they be teaching Husas and Zulas and mandingos and exulias and oromos, right? As true living in themselves. They they don't have our science. So therefore, it's a death sentence, right? It's a spiritual and mental death sentence when we send our children into uh, the European Western civilization educational system. And I don't care how we try to fix it up, right? We know that it's a converter belt to do three things. It's going to be begging for a job. It's going to send some of them into prison, or it's going to send some people into war. And then they have a fourth place, which is called being destitute into poverty. So you're absolutely right that they created some medications, um, and we don't even say medications. We say poisons. Because pharmaceutical means potions, elixirs. They have created um, some sorcery because they understand our body works off electromagnetism. We have uh, uh, we have the solar electromagnetism, we have the earth electromagnetism, and we have the galaxy electromagnetism, and we have the alignments of the stars and planets, which also kicks off electromagnetism. But these are sparks that happen in the body that vibrates in the frequencies to the pineal gland and pituitary gland. Well, they know the medications since they've been studying and dissecting our body. These medications do things to certain systems in our body. So we have to look at our body, our liver, our heart, our kidney. We got to look at them as star systems within the galaxy. Your body is the galaxy, and these internal organs are different parts of the star system, right? And the gravity or the orbit of each organ, right, is like the orbit of each planet. If one planet come out of its orbit, it's gonna mess up the whole solar system, right? So if one part of the body is attacked with a foreign chemical or with a spell or with a elixir, right? It's going to attack the whole body system. And so our kids, no, they're not going to be able to sit there and listen to somebody, what they do with Charlie Brown Queen, womp, 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 womp,
Absolutely.
you know. So our children was taught to learn, if you look at ancient Egypt, if you look at the Husa, if you look at the Zulu, if you look at the Oromo, if you look at the Wolof, if you look at the Bantu, our people was taught to learn with the drum beat, you know. The drum beat would give them a rhythm, and when they learned, they got to use their body, and they got to, go inside their inner self to get the concepts that was being taught, instead of just watching somebody uh, be sterile, at a chalkboard or a desk, with a ruler or a pedal, saying I'm a spank you. But our children, even, and I don't mean to take up so much time talking, but our children got it even worse right now because they have the philia, right? Which leads to pedophilia and rape and it's just so much that they have to deal with at the modern public school today, right? The boys can go to school dressed like girls and the girls can go dressed like
Yes.
boys. So
Yeah.
with that type of disturbance, with that type of disturbance, there's not too much you can learn except for how to go to work, right? Or go to the prison pipeline, or come out using drugs or selling drugs, or going to the military. I mean, we do have exceptional people, and I want to commend everybody who has woken up, and are some of those who still sleep that went on to do fabulous things and wonderful things.
So I wanted you to talk a little bit more about this overseer syndrome. I
Okay,
mean,
well,
like, I guess what I would say is it's almost like you have people who they are afraid to say how they feel about certain things. And then what they'll do is they will borrow language or the lingo narrative from others. And knowing that it's not helping the community, but it's almost like a repetitive type of communication. And we've the way I said, we've tried everything. We've marched, we've preached, we've tried to say, we all just get along. I mean, so we've tried it all. Now, we've got this type of speech and communication that is taking place that we see all the time, and it's uh I think I want to see
And
what you.
that's a real thing.
Yes,
Um, so I want to go back to hindsight and go back to when you said the Black Lives Matter, so we can put this overseer in perspective. Okay.
absolutely.
Now we had the great we had the great wake up. The vibe was there. The frequency was there. The wavelength was there. Planet Nubara, which is right behind Pluto, was swinging in. Right. Uh, it's called the other sun. Right. But it's a planet. Right. But that planet is reflecting off another sun. Right. Within our galaxy. In another solar system, because the galaxy is made up of many solar systems. So Nubara, the planet that is orbiting in two solar systems, right? So it goes from one solar system to another solar system. Um, like when you study the pyramid, Cyrus A, Cyrus B, they say they came from another solar system to this solar system. So Nubaran is right behind Pluto. Pluto is like a meteorite or a comet or an anchor, right? It's not really a planet. So that planet is swinging in, which causes a wavelength, a shift, a frequency, right? So our sun sends out extra rays. So we go into an ultraviolet indigo ray, and we go into the ultraviolet ray, and we go into the indigo ray. So we have three strong rays as that planet swings in and Pluto swings out. um, and that releases from uh, the gravitational pull of just being in blind faith. Now we move into the age of uh, curiosity, which they call the age of Aquarius. But we shouldn't call it the age of Aquarius, right? We should call it the age of curious, right? That's the only way you have a spiritual age is when you're curious, when you ask questions. They had us at a point where we didn't ask no questions. You didn't question the Bible, you didn't question the master, you didn't question nothing. So we go back to Black Lives Matter. It comes out of nowhere. And we never questioned it. Now we question it. But when it first started, we didn't question it. Because they knew we were in a great awakening because they study astrology and astronomy. And they study, they dissect and they study this. And they knew that the 400 years was up. They knew that the planets were aligning, and they knew that the ages are changing. From the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, and the age of Aquarius represents a new empire on Earth, or a new system on Earth, or a new way of doing things, a new culture, which represents us. So that's when they sent the Black Lives Matter. But this started way before Black Lives Matter. Marcus Garvey came with a wavelength. When after slavery was over. And so that's why we call ourselves a continuation. That we're not getting started, but we have to continue this fight. It's a spiritual, mental, psychological, and physical fight, a cultural fight, it's an economic fight, social fight. It's on every level of existence. And so, we cannot rest. Like you said, it's not for the weary and the faint of heart. But this is for those who only rest and meditate, because we have no time to sleep in summer. So what they did to Marcus Garvey, they started the NAACP, and they put W. E. Du Bois, and it was funded by some Jews. W. E. Du Bois was raised and adopted by some Jews, and he went to school over in France. France, the Franco system, was some of the cruelest and most intelligent system of African colonialism that ever existed. So W. E. Du Bois came out of this, and he came out working for the overseers. and he fought Marcus Garvey tooth and nail, and about the ideal of us starting our own system, starting our own corporations, starting our own social system, picking up new languages from Mother Africa, or creating a new language, writing our own books, having our own newspaper, traveling back and forth from Africa, from North America, Central America, South America, and the Bahamas and the Caribbean Sea. Uh, but even before that, let's go back a little further, right? They had the overseer syndrome on the plantation, right? When they would put one black person over the other blacks, and he was allowed to whip the blacks, and he was allowed to reward and punish other blacks because the slave master or the plantation owner placed them there. So when you say black people had slaves, you have to understand that these people that was so-called over these other black people, you know, even though they was free, uh, they still was servant to the barons and the dukes and the duchesses in the House of Lords and the different titles that they had over in Europe. And these people, they just ran these people properties for them. But you also had in the field, you had what they call the seers, what we still have today. Now, a seer today would be called a dry snitch, right?
Right.
Are you there, Queen?
I'm here.
So
I'm listening.
is a seer is when you have a group of people, uh, and the police pull up, or a teacher pull up, and ask what happened, right?
Mhm.
And so there's always one person in the crowd, it's not on code that they not doing it.
Absolutely.
They're not
Yes.
doing it. Yeah, they're not doing it on purpose. It's just they never been taught. Maybe they didn't have a father, or maybe they didn't have a mother, or maybe it was too much chaos, or maybe their family was police, or I don't know. But it's that person, who just hurry up and spill all the beans. You know what I mean?
Spill all the beans
Not aware
and 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 they
and
tend
not
to
aware.
right and not
Go ahead.
aware
And what?
and they tend to always believe the narrative. Oh my gosh, and they're passionate
And
about it.
then so then you have what you call the underseer, right?
Mhm.
The underseer is the one person that nobody on the plantation know or nobody in the community knows, right? That's working, right?
Right.
That's working with the property owner or the plantation owner. Even the overseer don't know who the underseer is because the plantation owner or the property owner or the handlers, right? Or the Masonic Lodge or the Illuminati or whatever you want to call it, the secret hand, you know, the invisible empire, whatever you want to call this, right? They don't even trust that nigga that they put down as overseer. So they got the underseer, right?
To see about
And
him.
he has to give a report. Huh?
To see about him, the underseer.
And so we call them confidential informants today. You know,
Mhm. Mhm.
they get up in your group, they get in the mix, and they
Mhm.
do the same thing you do. They shoot dope with you, or sell dope with you, or
Mhm.
they own a slave plantation. And, uh, but one thing you notice, if they violate, they don't get no whooping. Somehow they always get an extra piece of food or something. You know what I'm saying? They always leave right on time. Or,
Right.
it's like they got some heads up on some shit. So the overseer syndrome, it also has what you call the seer, and it has the underseers. And so uh, the seers is just a common person who believe in the system so much. I like to call the seers the Christians, and they think if they just love white people and love their enemies with all their heart, and somebody will come out the sky and make everything right. But the seers don't understand it's a verse in the Bible, and I'm not attacking Christianity. I'm just attacking the psychological impact that it had on us. Do you understand what I'm saying, Queen?
Mhm.
So I'll give you an example. One part of the Bible says you have to hate your mother and father and your family, your brother and sister, if you will be a servant of the Christ, right?
Mhm. I've seen that.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So this is your family. These are black people that look like you. And then another verse somewhere else tells you you gotta love your enemies, right? The motherfuckers that's whooping you, the motherfuckers that's kicking you, the motherfuckers that's taking everything you got, the people that stole your land, right? So that's where the overseer syndrome come at. When you talk about uniting and when hey, we don't have to hate each other, right? To be some good people, right?
Right?
But we can stop fucking with. We can stop giving our money to the Chinese and to the Indians and to the Europeans. Oh, as soon as you say that, as soon as you say that, they on your behind. They on your. Can I say it on your radio? They on your ass.
Go ahead.
I said it. I said it. As soon as you say something about that, we need to spend money with each other. They be on you, and that's one thing. No matter how much undercover they is, or how much they don't want to blow their cover, you get to talking about some black unity. That's the worst thing you can do to the overseer, the seer, and the underseer.
And that's one thing that's now see that's what I'm talking about. I just can't understand how we can go along to get along with this, because you call me a black identity extremist because I'm talking about self-preservation and love for my people, but everybody else can talk about self-preservation and love for their people. You know, I'm just like not understanding why. I mean, I do understand, but I'm just like kind of like sort of trying to raise it up as a question to the people, because why would you allow someone to tell you that? I mean, I mean, if I love my children extreme, so I'm a my child's identity extremist. I love my children extreme. So, what's wrong with me loving my people extreme? I mean, like, what is the logic of that? That's
So here's the game. The game is that they took us and conditioned us not to have an identity, so we can be nigger, negro, colored, black, African American, um, and coon and sambo, whatever they called us. We ended up transferring ourselves to.
okay. So you're saying that that played a part, that was like a part of this um, overseer syndrome, so to speak, like this brainwash situation that some people can't seem to get out of.
Well, let's fine tune it, right? So they forbid you to identify with Husa, Zulu, or any African trait. And so anybody who tries to give you back your identity, right? They had to come up with a label for it, right? First they called you militant, they called you radical, they called you troublemaker, they called you uppity nigger, um, uh, and they keep making up labels. Well, since we having a great wake up and people are telling each other that we can speak Swahili, we can learn Bantu, we can learn Lumulof, we can learn Oromo, that we can do these rituals, that we can wear these clothes, right? The person who wakes people up, the global white supremacy racism is their job to label you as a black identity extremist. Because why? Once you can identify, identity produces destiny. Once you can identify who you is, you know which direction to go in. And so therefore they don't get no more free labor. They don't get your money. You don't get to beg to be a part of their system. And so you have to understand these white people are social engineers. They're cultural scientists. So you shouldn't have a problem with what they need to do to stay in control. The problem is that we're supposed to know what to do to make sure that we are in control of where we going, because identity produces destiny, and when you use the imagination, you have the image of a nation. Now, one thing that they did is to make sure that we didn't use our imagination, that we don't have an image of a nation in our mind. So when the Koreans come over here, the Mexicans, everybody come from a nation, so they have a flag, they have an anthem, they have their language, they have their clothing, they have their diet, they know who their mama was and their great grandma and their great grandma. So they have all the stories about the battles, they have the story about the ancient ways. You understand? And so they're functioning with an identity. And the secret is do not let the blacks know that they're more than just being black, that they do have a proper word to identify them as, that where they can have a legacy of heritage and they can have pride and they can have honor and dignity and integrity behind saying I'm a Romo or I'm a true living Nubian soul or I'm Kemet or I'm Zulu or I'm Bantu or I'm Husa or I'm Ibu, right? These kingdoms were established thousands and thousands of years, and they traded in ivory and gold and silver and spices and salts, and they expanded and traveled into North America, South America, and West America, and to the Pacific Islands, and they went on expeditions in Europe and up to the North Pole and South Pole, and they went and made settlements and colonies up in India and Southeast Asia and throughout the Philippines and the Pacific, South Pacific Islands. So when you have identity, you have richness and you have wealth, you have treasure and you have fortunes. So as long as they keep us in a state of of being black, you can't point to nothing on the map unless you change the definition of black and you can point to the whole planet. You can point to the whole goddamn solar system. You can claim the galactic empire and you can be a part of the cosmic federation. That you come from the source of all things. You're a part of the all in all.
Absolutely. And my brother, it's like, I know good and well I'm going to have you on again because, I mean, we have really got to get to the core of this, understanding of this, that it's like we're, I don't know, I guess every time I hear another African American brother or sister speak, whether they be in an interview or some situation like that. It's like I'm just seeing them just apologize for everything that comes out of their mouth. And I just took note of it. Like, is it just me, or does anybody else notice this? It's like it's so disheartening, to not. It's almost like you. Is it just that they feel that they don't have the freedom to speak the way they want, or do they feel like, well, somebody's gonna, the white man writes my check? I mean, but that's you. If that's the case, then you have handcuffs on. If you can't, speak the way you want to speak, the way you feel to speak. I mean, yes, of course, have some discretion, but I'm saying for the most part, you're making, you're compromising and you're making concessions. Do you understand what I'm saying, my brother?
I understand exactly what you're saying. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I had my headphones on and I heard you through the speaker, so that's why I had the big old pause. Um, so I just don't understand what you're saying. I overstand and I understand. Um, and
I just,
that's comes from. So we have to look at this. We have to look at this stuff that we are in somebody else's system, right? Which is a
I,
hologram, which is
absolutely,
hypnotism, which is
yes.
a spell. And so um, we can talk until we black and blue, but until we create our own institutions, right? See, I'm gonna tell you how you better spell, right, or what a system is. See, when you walk into a building and that's where your people gather, the spell is broken. So anytime a Chinese person going in Chinatown and they see that Chinese writing and they go into one of those buildings, right, and they hear Chinese people speaking their language and they see them dressed in their clothes and eating their food, right, that spell is broken. They might step into America and go to the workforce and go into that building and they under that spell and but they ain't fully under the spell because they know before they go into the building and after they go into it, they're going back into their own realm, back into their own dimension. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so it's like going to go visit Europe and being surrounded by a whole bunch of Europeans, right? When you went there to go have some business, right? And you hurry up and get your black ass out of there and get back home, right? Around your folks and your kind,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But the Stockholm syndrome, the overseer syndrome, the seer syndrome, and the underseer syndrome is these Negroes don't want to leave that mindset. You know, so therefore it affects them spiritually. It causes cancer, leukemia, diabetes, sickle cell, and all kind of sicknesses in their body because these people's bodies, their RNA and DNA is mixed with rhesus monkey and dog. Um, and they, when they're around melanated people, they are energy drainers. Your body kicks off energies. It transmits energy and it receives energies. And the more you're around them, you receive these negative vibes, and you give them all your good energy, which allows their negative energy to move stronger, right, in your community or in your mindset or in your psychology, right? And then when you eat in their diet and you send your kids to be educated under their curriculum, it doesn't make a difference if you have a black teacher, or a white teacher, as long as the curriculum is not written, right, for you to have your own future and discuss your past and understand who you are in the present, right, it destroys your psychic and it reboosts them to be a humanoid, an
And,
android,
and you
you
are
know?
absolutely right, but I know you know that phrase that Malcolm X used that, and I know I don't know it exactly by heart, but what is it that he says to if the person, whoever teaches your children, controls the destiny of a nation?
Hey, perfectly said, my queen. Perfectly said, Empress. And going back to the statement that you made to come back on another show, right?
Uh-huh.
I've ran across many sisters, many queens, many empresses, many goddesses. So the only thing I can say, Trish, 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 I love you, and I would love to be back on your show because I don't see too many goddesses out there doing anything independent, not waiting on somebody, and they with for the love of the people. You doing this for the love of people. I know you're not doing this for no ulterior motive, because I spoke with you before, and to me, you know, you're radiant and you're shining like the sun, and I would like to continue to shine some of this light so the people know that the black men and women is not in no psychological fight with each other when they know who they are. That they
Absolutely.
raised a mighty new Nubian empire.
Yes, it makes a big difference. Um, yeah, I just kept asking the ancestors and the creator, just if this is what you want me to do, please give me what I need to do it and show me the way. And I just kept researching so that I could find the means to do it. And I found it materialized. And, I'm ecstatic about it because I just wouldn't be doing this if I didn't want to help get, the message across and plant the seeds. It's got, evidently somebody needs to hear it. Somebody wants to hear it. Somebody's been asking for something like this. So, this is what I'm doing. And I, I really, really do want to have you on again. I mean, because I want to go deeper into this because it's just we I just want to let everybody know that really, to tell you the truth, me and the Ansubu, we just hit the surface today. You haven't heard anything yet.
And that's true. And
Hmm.
I want to give them a free one too. Can I give them a free one?
Sure. Yes.
Um, if you look at Lower African Minds, www.lowafricanminds.com, and go to our web, you will see the Queen on our show, Low African Mind Connected Mind Show. She's been on our show. She has been the goddess of our show, the empress of that show. And we have other shows, Lower African Minds Two Living Souls that come on Monday. We have Loyal African Minds, The Truth Changes the Narrative, which is on Tuesday with Dan Kamati. We have Loyal African Minds, Connected Minds,
Mhm.
with Queen Trish, uh, Taiki the Grand High Tech, and King Aijalon the Ansubu.
Mhm.
And we have Loyal African Mind, The Rhymes and Rhythm of the Metu Netter with Mr. Lewis.
And
And
Queen.
on Friday we have Frequency Fridays with Queen Charm.
Right.
So
Mhm.
that's on Lord African Minds, and so she has been a part of our media, and our media is gonna get better. I'm in negotiation with a person who's professional and who's been making videos and documentaries and stuff for a long time. He's been doing this type of work since he's 18. I think he's like 54, 56 right now. And so we're trying to put some stuff together. And like I said, I would love to come back to the show, because you're a phenomenal woman. You are an intelligent queen. You're a grand empress, and you are a divine goddess who I vibe with. To bring this truth because it has to manifest.
It
And
has to
you know,
manifest. Well, we're gonna do that. We're gonna. I mean, it's not like it's. We're gonna utilize everything that we can to get this out. Loyal African Minds, and it's it doesn't matter as as long as we can get it out. The content might be just a little bit different, but it doesn't matter because either way we're hitting on different subjects at different times that are completely relevant. And I
and
want to know. Hmm.
for your listening audience, as Queen Trish, what's your name for your listening audience? Do you have a title or
I just
a name for your
it's
listening audience?
well the name of the show. Are you talking about the name of the show or me?
So you, you,
I'm
like my name is
I'm
Aijalon Joseph, but they call me King
they
Aijalon
know me
Dansu.
as Trisha Badia Wahid, and I just for short I just say TB Wahid. Did you hear me, my brother?
Queen Patricia Badia Wahid, her shows, hopefully you can catch them also on Low African Mind. She posts her
Yes,
shows in
they
other
can.
places and on
Hmm.
other medias, and they'll be able to also check her shows out on Low African Mind. I just want to state that.
Okay. Do you have any closing words for the people before we
Well, when we look at the Bible, um, because the Bible is pleasurism. Pleasurism means that it was something that they saw and they took it and they wrote it uh, in another way uh, outside of the original context. So we had this thing in the Metro called the test of a man. In the Bible, they said Old Testament and they said New Testament, right? And they said you have to believe in the Holy Ghost. And so they have the ghost spells, which they call gospel. And I want our brothers and sisters to read the Metronetcher, to read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and to examine the Bible, right, with their third eye and fourth eye. And then they'll see that the Bible is esoteric, it's metaphysical, it's allegory, and also I will encourage brothers and sisters to read to their children Stolen Legacy and Destruction of Black Civilization, and to join us and say, Numa Kiwapa.
Numaki Wawa? Thank you so much for being with me tonight on this medium, my brother. Black Living Room Talk with TB Wahid. We out the living room. Thank you. Peace, Black Power.